Mm. Yes, I've been drinking wine. Uh, I lent Minnow out to Leonard. He lives in the building here. He offered to take him for a walk, a nice long walk, and I called. It's 7:40. He said he'd be back at 8, so I called just to make sure 8 was on his plate, and he said he'll be back in 20 minutes, so that's good. A little nervous, let Minnow out for 4 hours with someone else, and it is dark, and just want to make sure that they're aware. As I am here. I just got back from getting Minnow, so I called Leonard 20 minutes to 8 because he said Minnow would be back at 8, and he said he'd be here at 8, but he wasn't, so I went to the lobby and waited 20 minutes and called him again. John came in. John is in the art room. I know John in the art room, and he sat down to talk. We talked about my new accessories, and then I was looking past him to the door to enter to the lobby, and I saw Minnow, and I saw Leonard had a stick, like maybe it was a walking stick, had taken his harness off, Minnow's harness off, had wrapped the leash around his neck and was doing this with it. And I saw just a blink of that, and I'm like, hey, 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 hey. I said, I'll take it from here. So I said, I don't want you pulling on that. That's choking him. And he said, no, it isn't. John and I, were already sitting down, but I had a flare in terms of, spotted it. Yellow, red flag. Okay. And so I'm looking at John, and now I can tell, I think he's drunk, and I'm saying very lightly under my breath to John, like, because we're in the process of a communication that I'm glad that he's here, uh, you know, because what's his name? Leonard is like, he's pitching a fit with himself, and he's like, he's got a stroller with bags in it. And so I'd asked him, where's Minnow's harness? And I'm asking him in my seated position. And all I can tell is he's over there pitching a fit with himself. And so I carry on with John, who works in peer group support. And John is keen, and he's empathetic. He's empathic, empathetic, and so we're carrying on a conversation, but we also have a wary eye. I have a wary eye looking past John at this, and John has a wary eye in terms of hearing, you know, the misfit. Trying to, I don't know, pitch a fit and fight with his bags. All I asked is, where's Minnow's harness? And so it took a while. And he stumbles over and brings the bag. So I had fitted Leonard with a little backpack that I made. I call it a sling pack. And I made it out of, let's see, it's like shade tarp. Well, I did use shade tarp for the front and then backpack material. and then 2 strings that I got from, which would be from rope climbing, and fitted them with 2 grommets so that you pull it, the straps fit around your back, and then it tightens the pack. And it's very slim. It was really for my purpose originally, years ago, if not several decades ago, to ride my bike to the swimming pool and then be able, with that shade tarp mesh, have items dry. So I could put them in, ride my bike, take off my old swimming clothes, put them in that mesh, and they would dry, you know. And then that's my pack for going back and forth to the swimming pool. But then it's now for Minnow that it fits his frisbee, and it's got a little collapsible rubber bowl that will open, expand, and collapse, and a bottle of water. And Leonard requested that he would like that when he took Minnow for a walk, so I had that outfitted with him with poop bags and treats. And it took him a while to get that bag over to me in my seated position, and when he did, he was stumbling and gruff. And I asked again, is the harness in that? He said, no, not yet. I have to go get it out of my bag. Kind of like, so, looking past Leonard with John, going, thank you for being here, because I think I really need to have some conformity of being present. And I got a little background from John. John works at Amistad, where I guess they were serving a free Thanksgiving meal. And I'm like, well, here's the thing. And John noticed that Leonard is much more talkative lately. And I'm like, yeah, I know. He is. I know he had neck surgery, but I have to tell you, he complimented me on my breasts that he likes them when we were in the elevator. And then I noticed the next time I was in the elevator with him and another female, he's like, well, hello, you're attractive. What's your name? And John thought it was kind of interesting with the fallout of Me Too, that he's like, this guy seems to be stuck in old school, And I go, thanks for this conversation, because you're helping me dial in how I should disembark to provide boundaries, to batten down the hatches. The thing is that today, when and I expressed this to John, when Leonard came to pick up Minnow 2 hours later than he said he would, I smelled body odor and I smelled a whiff of alcohol. So that's why I was like, shoot, well, I've already said that you can walk Minnow, and you've already asked if you could, but I thought I need to tighten this down a little bit more. Where are you going? How long? And I want you to take your phone. Because, like I said before, Minnow is dainty in build, mighty in spirit, but he's still dainty in build, and we cannot overstep that fact. Okay, his frame will not uphold your bullshit to step on it, okay? And that's not okay with me. Minnow's wonderful. I don't have kids. Maybe I'm not schooled in how to hand the leash off to someone else. Just the same, he's my totem animal for innocence and reflection, and that would be having good stewardship. And it would also seem, as I engage other people, it's knowing how to hand the leash. The invisible lease is leash, okay? The H. From the ho you use is the house you speak. and speaked. But let's see. John said today that Leonard was there. And I said, well, what Leonard told me is that no one there served him. He just stood there and they looked right through him. And John was there and he said he was talking to everyone and he never placed an order. I'm like, okay. So, you're filling me in on of the gaps between naivety, and he's like, you know what? He says, Angela, he says, rather than naivety, you want to trust. And I said, yes, I do. And in trusting, I feel people see nuance and cue and know how to dance to be true. And that may not be the case. So I'm giving too much. I'm giving too much away. Like, to me, it was just like, anyone could walk a dog, but apparently they can't. Okay. Apparently they can't. And I put Minnow in my lap and I held him and he leaned his head into me and I'm like, I hope he didn't hurt you. I hope he didn't traumatize you. I hate to think of how many times he fucking choked you for 4.5 hours. Okay. Because I saw what he did with Minnow in just that flash of an eye. He very belligerently penalized Minnow for not knowing what to do in his head. Okay? As he tried to troll his wire cased little tote of bags, with him. And I don't trust Leonard anymore. I don't trust him to be present enough. So John and I continued to talk. Leonard would go away, and he'd come back, and he'd want to come in and kind of barge in our conversation and rub Minnow and squeeze his legs. And I'm kind of like, he's like, we'll do this again tomorrow. So like, no, I got him tomorrow. And tomorrow means thereafter. Okay. And what else? He'd go away, Leonard, then he'd come back, and I'd be having a conversation with John, and we were talking about, my first car. One of my first cars, a 3-cylinder Geo Metro convertible, and then he was talking about the Yugo, and then we were wondering if there was he said the Yugo from Yugoslavia, and he knew a woman that bought it pristine and paid $6,000 for it, and I was like, I'm wondering if there still is a pristine Yugo, and he's like, yeah, I think there's one out there. And I said, you know what I would like? I really would like a pristine Citron. And Dopey Face in his inebriated slur piped in without even facing us, well, he started to pipe in with the Geo Metro, like, get rid of it, and I'm kind of like, so hard to have a conversation with a third wheel that's just tuned to squeak, okay? To squeak its own defunct and defunction. New wheel, new deal, okay? So, he just piped in, didn't know the back, didn't know the forward, didn't know the current, didn't fucking care, just piped in. Just kind of the way he's all grabby and smutty with Minnow. Smudging and smutty, and you must like this and this and this. Now, I do that with Minnow, but I'd like to think I do it in an articulated sense of theatrically sparring and playing with him. I'm still aware, okay? I'm aware that Minnow likes theatrics. This dog likes theater. How do I know? Well, I'll compare it to my last dog, a pharaoh hound named Honey Hound, Honey H. Hound. Honey's the bigger version of Chironecco, Minnow. Minnow is a pharaoh hound that grew up on the island of Sicily and shrunk 20 pounds due to island living. And they say the other animals did, and then they say the people did too. If I, in a conversation, they're like, oh yeah, the people shrunk too. But my first dog, Honey H. Hound, if I had like a little rabbit toy and I'd put the little ears over my hip, the dog would be like, "That's not real. I'm not chasing that." This dog does false lunges. He likes theater. Honey Hound likes taking theater outside and outsmarting you through any loophole. Meaning when I thought the dog knew what to do when I open the door to go do its business, and I didn't have to go do it with it. I could just stay on the stoop, right, and watch it. Well, Honey Hound, oh, I'm going to saunter over to this house. I'm going to do my business. I'm going to saunter, go around it so I can't see it. And then I'm like, Honey Hound would fade left. I would go down the stairs, and it would take off right. And I'd be like, where'd it go? And I'm like, holy shit, it just outsmarted me again. And I'm like, what do I gotta do? I gotta think like a dog. That dog is going for stink. And so, okay, where's the big green garbage bin? When I'm like, dog's not gonna outsmart me. Went to go find me a green garbage bin, and there was my dog. The dog was like, what are you doing here? I'm not done yet. The dog took me stinking through everybody's backyard. And I'm like, sorry, hey, hi. Don't shoot, it's a human. Okay, but I'm like, I got my eye on you. When I catch you, god damn it. Gonna reintroduce you to your shock collar. Because I don't want you making me infamous in the neighborhood because you're a sight hunting hound and you like to chase anything that moves, and I can't have you chasing kitty and tasting it. We can't do that. So I used to run with Honey Hound with a shock collar so that we could run off leash in Carabasset Valley, and that's near Canada. And what else? What I learned with a shock collar, one of the reasons to have it is I lived on the highway, and the dog would think my come meant go. And like, I can't have you do that standing in the highway that twists and turns with Mack trucks. It's coming around a corner and have them put on all their fucking wheels for you, dog. I would want them to do it, but please, let's not make them try to do it, okay? I think it's better you get shocked to listen to me as the first crew member, and you're the second, okay? And I thought that was a better deal. But on occasion we would be running out in the trail, and there's coon cats out there, and I'm like, I can't have you tasting those either. And at the same time, Honey Hound might see something moving through the bush, and she go and try and chase a moose. And I'm like, no, you know, a moose is stupid. It's gonna put its, you know, it easily just do this out of stupidity, out of deliberateness, out of not knowing or not seeing. Can't have you doing that either. You can't chase the moose. And so what I know about the shock collar is it's not good enough just to use it. You have to read the cue, and you have to give the message first, because what I learned about Honey Hound and a shock collar, and I tried it on me, it has several levels. So I put the two metal pulses on me, and I tried it at the levels, going, okay, that makes me jump. I didn't even get to the top level. So when I first tried it on Honeyhound, I'd open the door and I'd be like, okay, you can do your business. And the Honeyhound would sneak off, and I'm like, hey, come back. And she's like, no. And I'm like, first time I did it, the dog came sporting back to me like a thunderbolt from the sky, from God had hit it. The dog didn't know I did it, but the dog did learn eventually that I did it. So, but it was chasing a coon cat in the bountiful land, and I'm like, you can't do that. And so I called it back after it already elicited its hunting instinct, and then it wouldn't come back. It had already like flipped the switch, and so buzz, buzz, buzz as I'm increasing up to the top buzz mode. Buzz didn't work. It didn't work, and I beat the dog, and that made me feel really, really bad. And I'm like, because the dog was so much in I chased kitty, and I tasted kitty, and I loved it. It was just glowing as I was, with a big smile, as an aura, as I was beating it. And it does not make me feel good as an owner, and that's not how I want to tame the animal. And that includes me. That's not the exchange that I want. So what I learned is you need to I had to watch my dog. I still wanted it to have the privilege to run off the leash, because its anatomy, its frame is made to run, and I know that the dog feels best in its skin that way. And if it feels best in its skin, it feels best when it's at rest as well, within our nest. It's not pacing, it's not chewing things, it's not looking at the back of my head like, what the fuck are you doing? We need to do something. Got energy to express. So what else? What I learned I had to do, I'd run with the dog off leash on the trail in the wilderness, and if I saw it elicit a response, or if I saw, it eliciting a response to something it wanted to chase, was almost at the same time. I can't say which came first, whether I saw it or the dog did, but cued it, I gave the message to call the dog down. I gave the cue verbally before the dog flipped the switch into its hunting instinct, where no amount of pain was going to call it back. Okay, and then I was going to have to beat it. No, I don't want to beat it, but the point is, I wouldn't have been able to serve my needs, which is, at the very least, don't chase the kitty so that you can taste the kitty and make us infamous. Okay, in the wilderness or in the neighborhood. Okay, because we can't do that. I want to give the dog its breathing, running room, but we can't. Here's another scenario. I went to visit someone. They live out in the country. They had dogs with their kids. Their kids went riding with their bikes with their dogs, and then I hear the dogs barking. Well, Honeyhound came back with porcupine quills. Okay, I wasn't there. I couldn't call her back, but I heard the sound of the hunt. Okay, and yeah, the porcupine punted. And then so Honeyhound comes back and it's twitching. I'm like, oh man, it's gonna know something's up first time it puts its snout in its food bowl. And I'm looking at my friend like, okay, get your pliers. I'm gonna hold. We gotta get these out now. Let's get them out now. We did it swift. I don't recall any trauma. So, but you know, it's just a lesson. It's a lesson. The dog's made to hunt, and it's made to run, and it gets at the very least its artificial grace by being in its form and forum. You know, breathing in its skin, and but yeah, that's what I learned is I had to pay attention to know what elicits the hunt, to know that it flips a switch that I can't call it back, not even with pain, not even with shock. So to give the cue, to pay attention, to give the cue before the flip of the hunting instinct. And yeah, it works by God. It works. The dog is wonderfully keen, honey hound. I would run through the woods with it, and then through this trail, and then it would come up onto the highway, and the highway had a guardrail, and I would run with it inside the guardrail, so the people driving would have to hit the guardrail if they weren't paying attention, you know. Well, the dog one day decided to cross the highway and take itself to the little general store. It hung out around in the back, and people fed it. Someone was there and they knew it was my dog. They asked the dog to get in the truck, and the dog's like, "Want to get in?" But it can't. It took itself back, and it went inside the guardrail, like as we do, as we would practice when we ran, as we went through the trail and then got back on the highway. So I thought, you know what, my dog's keen, maybe a little too keen, because you know, I worked with it as a painter in the country, and I was out there with a guy, a carpenter, I think. Uh, we were the only two on the job site, you know, when the owners weren't at home, which they weren't during the day most times. And he had a a cooler with a metal latch on it. And Honeyhound got in there, and I do not know how, as I expressed to him, I didn't know my dog could get in that for a metal latch. Okay, got in there and ate his Makuchi's deli fresh roast beef and cheese. Left the paper wrappings. So, you know, I'm like, I'm so, you know, so we're miles from. You bring your own lunch because you're miles from getting fed. And I'm like, I offered him my lemon Luna bar. You know, it's made for soy protein for women. I'm like, I'm sorry, I didn't know the dog was that smart. But nah, Honey was very, very good at all the loops. I'd be on a 32-foot ladder on the very top rung, doing painting a building that the guy before me dropped his bucket on the lower pitched entrance. Okay, so then they called someone else to do it. And I'm like, don't you tell them. I mean, I painted the roof for them in black, so I'm like, as well as doing the walls of the building, because I'm like, I don't want anyone that you refer this paint job to do think that I made that mess. The other thing is that I used my rock climbing skills they had an architectural pipe, industrial pipe, to go down the face of this tall building. And so I tied off of it and belayed and painted. Okay, so I did what the guy before me couldn't do, and I did what they had bodybuilders at that gym, and they would stand out there behind me looking at me. They were afraid to get on the ladder. And you know, I think for all intents and purposes I made it look easy. But Honeyhound, I would put Honeyhound while I'm on that 32-foot high ladder on the top rung on my tippy toes, getting the highest point of that wall of that building. That dog would wait till I was up there, then it would do a little Houdini out of its harness and run. I'm like, seriously, you did that with my back turned, you little shitter. But at the same token, I could be, honey, give me some sugar. the hound would come running through the countryside. I taught Honey what giving me some sugar is. That's giving me a kiss. And I leveraged that because Honey was very much like a little shark. She'd go in, give you a kiss, and then be like, I'm done. And I'm like, no, no, give me some sugar. Like, lay it on me. As a modality of changing her energy. Lay it on me. So you don't know these things unless there's leeway. And there are mistakes that are made, and there are better bets and beds to be made as well, laid as well. So going back to John talking about the Me Too movement, and we just shucked a lot of like, yeah, I read this in the news and that and this, and even now filtering to smaller innuendos, like Natalie Portman, like she's on a set and the director asks her thoughts and tells her she's exasperating, and then the male actor says the same thing and then he agrees with him. It's shunting. Okay. You can have your say, but it's never going to go your way, bitch. Ha hyphen ha hyphen ha hyphen. Okay. So yeah, we had a good exchange, and then I'm smelling it now. Now the person that lives next to me, I have Richard on this side, I have Richard on this side, and where I park, I've got Richard on this side, and I've got Richard on this side. And this Richard was complaining about the bug treatment. So they treat for bed bugs here. They used to treat by heat, but apparently they're treating by chemicals. Well, I let them know that when they do that, they treat anyone's vents. So I didn't have bed bugs, and neither does the person next to him. So it's probably the person below him that got treated, and he was upset because it was chemical and it sprayed a goopiness all over everything. Apparently he passed the bug test, which they do, and they bring their dog in, and then they informed him with a letter that, we're going to treat the next day. And he's like, what? But he didn't get the letter till 6 o'clock at night so he left it in the morning. While he was at work, and he didn't get it till 6 o'clock at night, no one to talk to. He's calling the bedbug place, and they're like, oh, sorry, we're just the messenger. So you can't ask him about what are you going to do. So they came in, sprayed it, and apparently they put sticky shit, chemical shit, all over his apartment, and then told him not to go in it for X amount of time. And now I smell that in my apartment. So anyway, interesting sort of casual causal conversation that allows you to spore poor hinges with approximate guesstimation, as with guesstimation, jestimation. So yes, how I feel is I feel very bad that I let someone take me for a walk, who wrapped his leash around him, took his harness off, and I don't know why, and yanked on it. And I don't know how many times. That makes me feel bad. At the very least, Minnow is back. I also feel bad too, because I know Minnow sometimes when we play Frisbee, he's had a crook in his neck. And when he has that sort of neck pain, he leans into my chest, and he was doing that when I put him on when I scooped him up and was further talking with John. He was leaning into me, and I'm like, I'm massaging him, petting him, the way that he knows. I think he likes it because he seems to feel comfortable with it. I was hoping, I hope this isn't, he's not hurt you. Because he was not present enough to walk you. So, and I feel bad about that, because in my mind, okay, you're friendly to Minnow with me when I have him on leash. Certainly you know how to walk a dog if you want to, So I feel bad about that. Obviously, my trust my desire to want to trust is not, it needs to be more concerting with vetting boundaries. But this much I do know is other boundaries that I will be vetting is talking about my body parts. So John and I dabbled in the conversation of and he expressed with me that he knows someone that works in I think jail. Not sure, but I think she's female, and there was a person there that kept sucking his thumb and going boob as he looked at her, and she walked over and said, you don't get to speak about my body parts. And so he started grunting. Whatever. I think I know where the grunting comes from. So it's land granted even in jail. Okay? But I did like his John Spartan tale, which is shut it down. You don't get to talk about my body parts. And you can talk about your own in private. If there's going to be tone or nail or tail across to cell led, the ego, ea.ven head, we shouldn't be communicating that way. There's been no premise to tone as well laid day as weld. To the assay and aste it sailed, it thus ste it tailed through the saint ste, the female saint. Oh, to restrain the ta and taint with paint. Paint as you taint. It's got a different container now. To the meat at me